Picture this. You're in front of your latest prospect, closing the biggest deal of your life. Your pitch decks were perfect. Your scripts, flawless. And when the time came to answer the golden question of, are you ready to move forward? Nothing happened. For everyone who loves sales, this is their worst nightmare. But fear not, because in this podcast, we're unraveling the enigma behind those missed opportunities. From appointments that evaporate to presentations that felt like a Broadway show but ended in awkward silence, we're dissecting it all. Welcome to Love Your Sales.
This podcast is presented by GenHead. GenHead leverages AI so small and medium-sized businesses can find their ideal clients to make more sales. Other companies talk about AI, but we are using it every day to drive down marketing costs and increase revenue. Learn more at genhead.com. That's genhead.com.
Welcome to another episode of Love Your Sales. Today I am joined by Mike Long. He is the founder and lead designer of LightQuest, an outdoor illumination company. Mike Long grew up in southeastern Wisconsin and has been an entrepreneur most of his life. He started his first business in 1994 and has never looked back. From 1997 to 2017, he was the founder and partner in a very successful landscaping and lawn care company. And in 1998, one of his lawn care clients asked about landscape lighting. Mike has never looked back ever since he was hooked on that. And I am extremely excited because, Mike, you have owned 4 successful businesses over the years and maybe more in there as a serial entrepreneur, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, yeah, my name is Mike Long. So I started in lawn care. We actually started in mowing. In 1984, we started a mowing company, small landscape jobs, stuff like that. Built it up big enough that we could sell it, and we did. We wanted to learn the lawn care side of it, the spraying, the chemicals, and all that stuff. So we sold the company. We actually went to work for TruGreen for 2 seasons. Learned that business, left, started our own company, and that's in 1997. That's the company we started. Our first company was called Green Masters. We built that up, and in 2001, so literally 4 years, we had national company wanting to buy us out. So we sold to the Scott's Fertilizer Company in 2001. That's when Scott, the big Scott's Fertilizer Company, they used to be in lawn care. They got started in this area in Southeast Wisconsin by buying our company. So then the next day, they literally left with a floppy disk. That's all. They left with a floppy disk and they transferred a whole bunch of money in our account. And we're like, hey, what do we do now? So they left us in business. So we went back into work the next day and we started as professional lawn service. And we went to fertilizing commercial properties only because they didn't buy a commercial business. We built that up huge. We were doing a couple $1 million a year in just commercial business, doing fertilizing, stuff like that. We also started a landscaping company at the time because we had a 3-year non-compete. Let's start a couple different businesses and keep going. Great journey. We brought some partners in. We sold the landscaping company to one of our employees a month before the first bank collapsed in 2009. So when the whole big economy, we literally lucked out timing wise, and we sold it a month before that because a lot of those builders that we were doing work for actually went out of business. And then we went to solely focused on lawn care again. Built that up huge again, and TruGreen, a big national competitor, was after us for a couple of years. It was, no, we're not ready to sell, not ready to sell. So we ended up we sold in August of 2017, and then I was full-time in lighting the next day. I started the lighting company a couple of years before that, just part-time on the side while I was doing the lawn care. So I had some business already lined up, but I just set little goals. We sold August of 2017. I said, all right, I want to do $125,000 worth of work before the end of the year. Guess what? We hit $125,000 of work before the end of the year. Then just kept building and building and building, and now we're probably one of the largest outdoor lighting companies in the area, within a matter of what has it been, 7 years. There's a bunch of other stuff in the journey. We started a trucking company for a while. That didn't work. We ended up just selling all the trucks because it was just so we had a great thing going. We had first and second shift drivers running, and then I'm going to point at Ocean Spray because our office is still over where we were. But Ocean Spray came in there, and a new trucking company came in and took over that Ocean Spray contract. And within one day, he took all of our drivers.
Oh,
All of our drivers
oh,
left us to go to this huge national trucking company, and we couldn't do anything about it. So that was the start of our downturn of what happened there. And then you're fighting, trying to find drivers, and we're like, we're done. So yeah, we lost all of our drivers except for one in a matter of 24 hours.
oh my God, that's bad luck.
That's just it just you only had more to offer as a bigger company, and it
Right.
is what it is. It just I get it. I wasn't happy about it, but I get it. It was he saw an opportunity that recruiter did, and he took all of our drivers. I'm like, that hurts. That hurt. So,
Oh
but that's
boy.
the joys of owning a business. You figure out ways around it, and that one we just decided to not try to figure out a way around it. We said, you know what, this is taking more time than we wanted to put into it anyways. Let's just shut it down. So we did. We shut it down and we sold. So that's one of the unsuccessful things that we had throughout our successful career. So, but that's a snapshot of what I've gone through and what we built throughout the years. When I was going to college, I worked for a small towing company. Learned a lot from that guy. It was a company, small little towing company down in Zion, and he taught me a lot about small business, how to run employees. I was running a whole bunch of towing operators during that time going to college. He put me in charge of the tow truck. He called me the towing supervisor. I knew nothing about it, but obviously he saw something in me, so he taught me how to do this, and we figured it out. That's what kind of gave me my entrepreneurial bug, I guess you could say. So
Yeah, and there's one thing that's consistent that I have found with people who become entrepreneurials or are an entrepreneur. Once you get the bug, you can't you don't really turn back. And if you do, it's very difficult for those, that have no choice, I should say. That, but there are a lot of people out there that once you step over that threshold, it's hard to turn back, especially if you're good at it. And with somebody who's run now multiple businesses, sold businesses, I mean, you're a lifer. You're never going to work for somebody else, and that's awesome. So. Are you also the salesperson within these businesses?
yeah, and every business I would start out as selling, and you figure it out, and then you hire other people to sell, and you help them figure it out. And so now in the lighting company, I have one salesperson. I'm gonna bring another one on this probably next month to get me out of the sales operations because we're big enough that I need to be just focusing on the vision and moving this beast forward. So I need to step away from that, which I love sales. I love talking to customers. I
Yes.
love learning about customers and learning what they do and how they're successful. And that's gonna hurt. I'll still be to go out with those two guys and still kind of show them, what to do. And so I'll still be involved in that by teaching and expanding that way. But I won't miss it when I have to get out of sales completely because I love being out there and really just feeling what's going on in the economy by talking to people, and that helps you drive your business that way too by being out in the middle of it as well. You just gotta get KPIs in place to be able to look at that from the inside instead of being on the outside. So, but yeah, so we're in that process now in this company as well. So
So
yes,
what do you
I've
think?
always thought.
Yeah, and I've seen plenty of people start businesses who are not salespeople and be successful at it. But people who are sales minded and start businesses, man, do they just really being able to have that business mindset and then start a business and be able to sell the product and understand the product and run the business too. Man, they really skyrocket when you have both the operational mindset and the sales mindset. Putting those two together is just a powerful way to be able to enter in as a brand new business. Not saying that you can't do that if you're not, and depending on the product as well. But man, that's it's a powerful force to be reckoned with when you have both that operational ability and the sales ability. So, what do you think made you successful in your first business?
It's a work ethic. My dad taught me how to work, and you work until you figure it out. Things aren't going to go well at all. Remember, so let me explain our first year of business in lawn care in 1997. We started out in the springtime. We're doing great, selling all kinds of stuff, bought a couple new trucks. Also, you know what happens in Wisconsin in the wintertime? You can't fertilize any lawns. You can't do
Well,
any
you could
work.
try, but it's not going to go well.
So we didn't make much money our first year at all, and then all of a sudden, we have no revenue coming in at all. Like, how are we gonna pay our bills? We have two-wheel drive trucks you can't plow with, but guess what? We figured out a way to plow with them. We bought these big blocks of concrete, put them on the back of the truck. We bought 8.5 foot plows for the front of them. We had 1 ton dualies, and guess what? We figured out how to plow, and we got hired on by a couple of big landscapers that we worked for, and guess what? We were able to pay our bills. You just figure it out.
Right.
You think you have things figured out until you don't have it figured out, and you
Mhm.
have to change and keep moving from there. Um, just, again, that first year we thought we were going to sell and do all the applications and do all the bookkeeping and do all this stuff. Also, we're in the middle of the springtime when we're trying to sell and we're trying to get the work done. And we're like, we can't do all this. There's not enough hours in the day. So we had to hire our first technician to do lawn applications right away our first spring. We weren't planning on doing that, so we had some payroll we had to deal with, and so you figure it out. That's and you just work. Remember over the winter time when snow wasn't happening, guess what? I was out delivering papers in the middle of the night just to be able to make our mortgage payment. You do what you have to do. So I'm up, 4 o'clock in the morning delivering newspapers, and I go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning to sell lawn care, and you figure things out. So it's not entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. You have to work.
Right. It's, I used to, when early on in my sales career, somebody told me, they're just like, you just fake it until you make it. And I'm like, yeah, but, and they're like, no, 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 no. When you go on your first sales call, if you make an error, don't stop in the middle of your sales pitch and tell everybody you've made an error. They don't know. And I'm like, yeah, but, and they're like, no, they don't know. You just keep plowing through. And then after the fact, if, they're like, well, what about this? You can simply say, I misspoke. Let me explain. But you don't call yourself out right then and there. And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay. And that was so powerful when somebody explained it to me. You fake it till you make it. Like, continue to push through. And if you make a mistake, don't stop then. Fix it after the fact, because they don't know any different. And if they decide to say, no, I'm not interested, okay, well then, as long as it's not a big error, like, oh, this is $49.99. Wait, no, I meant $499. Okay,
yeah,
well, that might be an error in which you want to call. But the point being is that the majority of the time that we make little blips or we make a little tiny mistake, those are things that we can fix and we can move on. But you don't necessarily have to call yourself out right in front of the prospect at that moment.
yeah,
When you're making cold calls, if you accidentally say the wrong thing, the majority of the time it's gone way over their head anyways.
yeah,
You just keep plowing through until you figure it out. And once I learned that, oh, gee, I'm human just like everybody else. I make mistakes just like everybody else. Don't don't be so darn hard on yourself. Fake it till you make it. Figure it out. And that's when all of a sudden my ability to sell went through the roof. Now, I'm an ethical person just like you. I'm a moral person just like you. I'm not talking about like faking it and outright lie to people. That is not what I'm saying in any way.
yeah,
What I'm saying is that we are all human. We all make mistakes. And sometimes those are just tiny little things that, and if you just keep doing it over and over and over again, one day all of the pieces will fall into place. And I will tell you, as an entrepreneur myself, I have made 1,010,000,000 mistakes. I fix
yeah,
them and I move on.
yeah,
And that's, I guess, a life lesson of somebody who's also, a recovering perfectionist. It was difficult it was difficult to learn that. But yeah, I mean, that's extremely good advice too, to, somebody who is going to venture. I had to pay my accountant through the nose last year to fix my books. I was like, what do you mean this isn't right? She's like, I have no idea what you did here, but like, okay, all right, I'll get better. So I don't end up having to pay you half of my wages next time to fix my accounting errors. But that is part of being human. It's part of being an entrepreneur. It's
And that's the key to always willing to learn, because when we first started our business, we had no idea about systems and processes and stuff, like we didn't know there was such a thing. And now I live by systems and processes. I don't even know how I even made it through those first couple of years without having them. And you learn. You keep. I'm always listening to books, listening to podcasts, listening to this. Going to this seminar, that seminar. You have to continue to learn and improve if you want to continue to grow your business. Because the same Mike that started, we were actually Mike's Landscape Lighting when we started 7 years ago. The same Mike that started Mike's Landscape Lighting is not the same Mike that is running LightQuest now. There's no possible way. We have way too many people in place and have systems in place in order to continue to grow and continue to do that. Yes.
right. My dad once said to me, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You have to be the smart enough to hire somebody who is smarter than you to do the job. And I went, oh, well, then I can do anything. Well, if you have enough money to do that, right? But that's true. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to be smart enough to know that you don't know how to do something. It's like, oh, okay, so I don't have to be able to do everything myself, but I have to be self-aware enough and smart enough to know that I can't do something or I
Mhm.
will fail 10 times out of 10.
Yep, and give people the tools to have ownership of their position and to have, key performance indicators. I always talk about KPIs, have KPIs in place, so you can see what they're doing and monetize what they're doing. And yeah, that's something that I'm still learning.
Right. Well, and we all are. We absolutely all are, because if you if your salesperson is out there saying, I'm working 40 hours a week, but they're bringing absolutely no business in, how long do you allow that to go on before you say, wait, what are you doing 40 hours a week?
Mhm. You have
Same,
to know what everybody's doing. Yeah.
correct. Same thing with your accountant. If your accountant's saying, oh, I'm working, but your books are never getting fixed, it goes for any role in a business. And that's what it comes down to, is what does your bottom line look like, and what are the people around you doing in order to make sure that all of those numbers are equaling each other, and at the end of the day you are better off than you were, a month ago.
Yeah, and I listened to a book. I think it's How to Buy Back Your Time. And one thing that this author says, I forget his name, I've got some more there. He talks about having 80% done by somebody else is 100% better than you doing 100. I don't know what's something wrong. Even if somebody else does it at 80% of what you could do, it's still 100% better than you doing it.
Yeah,
So you
and
have to understand that it's not gonna be perfect.
correct. If you're the person at the head, and I hate using that terminology because anyways, but I completely agree. Like, and that's where I struggle. Like, I can do this in 10 minutes. Whereas if I have to go train somebody and it takes them a half an hour, I'm like, oh man, I struggle with that. But you get to a point where it's like, yeah, but 10 minutes of my time doing all of these things eventually doesn't equal 40 hours a week. It's 80 hours a week, and that's not sustainable.
Yes.
And you can't grow that way. And yeah, I know that I can do almost every job at my company. That's just, how do I grow if I'm trying to do every job at my company? And nobody will ever be as good at doing what I do because it's me. Because I have to learn how to let go of the reins and say, okay, I have to accept other people's work. And now just let me let me say this. Yes, other people can do a wildly better job at certain things than I can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I just think, well, if I do it, it's going to be the best. That's that little tiny arrogance that I think that every entrepreneur has. Like, oh, I can do it better.
Yeah.
However, there's been plenty of times where I've done something, then I've handed it over to my marketing team and it comes back and I go, whoa, that is so much better than what I could have done. And that's the learning curve of wow. And those are the aha moments of going, I should have let go of these reins a long time ago.
Yeah. And that's one thing I remember that I think it's Dan Sullivan's the author of this book, Buy Back Your Time. And he tells you to hire to buy back your time.
Right.
Instead of hiring for an open position, no. How much more time do you need to keep up or more
Right.
free up so you can run your business and hire somebody to buy back your time? I love that book. It's a great book. I love listening to this stuff. So
Yeah. And it makes complete sense because you are buying back your time. If I can go
yeah,
and that was the hardest thing for me, even for this podcast, for instance. For many years, I had been recording the podcast. I had been editing the podcast, producing the podcast, and eventually I went, okay, I can't do this and run my business. So I actually have now hired somebody to do my podcast. And I went, wow, this is so much more fun. I absolutely, love doing it way more now when I just get to record it and have conversations.
because you probably found somebody that's way faster and way better at you for editing that stuff.
Right. Right. But, in your head, you think, well, I'm the only one that can do it. So if you had advice to give to, somebody who's considering or somebody who's in their first or second year of entrepreneurship, what advice would you give to them?
Well, that's two different things. Somebody that's thinking about getting it and then somebody that's already in it.
Yes.
Um, but find something that you're passionate about first. If you're not in it yet, find something that you really love to do, and that'll help you continue to push through when things get tough. Somebody's already in it and it's something that they truly don't love to do, then why are you in it? What made you start this company? What goals do you have for your family? What goals do you have for the future? Stuff like that. I think goals are very, very important. I just spent the day yesterday finalizing my goals for the year. You gotta have personal goals, you gotta have business goals, and personally you gotta have, keep yourself healthy, keep working out, keep yourself spiritually, your mind fresh with books. There's all kinds of stuff you can do there. So what's the one big piece of advice? That's a hard one. There's so many pieces of advice. There's
Yes.
so many things you have to do. Don't be afraid of change. You have to change all the time. Like last year, our marketing just stopped working, which I
Mhm.
talked to people all over the country and their marketing stopped working. So it wasn't just ours. I think it was just part of the economy too. But just because you've been doing something a certain way forever and ever, ever, doesn't mean you shouldn't look at a different option to do something different. Find a different way to market, find a different way to just wording in your market. You know, I can be pretty stubborn, but I changed everything with my marketing last year. So be flexible and don't be afraid of change. There are a couple big ones right there. But yeah, having a passion for what you do will help you push through some of the times when you get how many no's can you take in a day before you go, this is stupid. You have to push through those. Because you go through those 10 no's and there's gonna be a big yes on the other side of that. So you have to keep pushing through it. So that's one piece of
Those
advice.
are
Yeah,
those are great. Everything that you said is an amazing advice because one, change, the only thing that is constant is change. Change is if I mean, look at the last 4 years. Look at the last, 5. So
yeah,
much has changed. And
yeah,
because the world with the pandemic, everything has changed, and this goes to your marketing, the way that we now, consume information is so drastically changing. I mean, we went from, you know, avid networking constantly to being literally shut into our homes where everything went technology, and technology is changing faster than we can marketing faster than, we can possibly keep up. There was a time when the only way that I could really, really sell the services that I was selling at the time was to go and knock on company doors. Most
Yeah.
companies now, they lock their front door unless you have an appointment. You don't even get past the front door. And a lot of these businesses, some of them now are become much more lax now that we're entered into what this 2025. And then the way that younger people are consuming their information, they're not on Facebook. Younger generation is on, and I don't even honestly know what the youngest generation is on, but it's
Yeah.
like TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it might be. But businesses are slow to adopt those new platforms because, well, the older generation are still on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And then for many years, depending on the industry you were in, they weren't on LinkedIn. Now, more business owners across the industry, across all industries, are finally catching up to being on LinkedIn. But
Mhm.
you go into automotive industry and where are they hanging out?
Yeah.
So it's extremely difficult with all of the new platforms, all of the new social media sites. Where do you spend your dollars when it comes to marketing? You have to be willing to change. Yet you go into certain industries and they're like, we've done it this way and we're going to continue to do it this way because it's always worked. Well, what
Yeah.
always has worked doesn't necessarily work in today's drastically evolving technology world.
Well, the system that we're on right now, Zoom. Zoom wasn't even around 5 years ago.
Right. Somebody, are we going to meet? And I'm like, sure. How exactly are we meeting? Well, I'll send you a Zoom meeting. And I'm like,
What is that?
Zoom or what was the one before that? It was, what was before Zoom?
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Yes.
There was one before Zoom
Yes.
that, and what was it? I, I,
Teams wasn't around either. So what was I remember? I know what you're talking about. I don't remember the name of it though. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And I'm like, okay, let's meet via Zoom. And then I was like, wait, this is just like that other one, except the other one never really took off. It was more
Yeah.
of like a minor, I'm like, okay, let's meet via Zoom. And then, Teams, internal for business, it was all Teams. And,
Yeah.
so it's so, Google Meets is the other one that popped up that became extremely popular. And, so now I can sit literally in my pajama pants and, sweatshirt and have meetings. And now people are like, you want to get coffee? I'm like, ugh, it's too cold outside. Do I have to drive?
Yeah.
Wow, I've become lazy.
Nope.
Whereas,
Just using technology.
right, whereas back, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I put on, 5,000 miles in a year with the amount that I would drive to meet clients. I also, my territory was, Wisconsin and Illinois. So, I literally had an office in my car. I stocked my car with snacks. And so when I was ready to get up in the morning, I just had to grab my cup of coffee. I had my breakfast ready for me in the car because I knew I had a 2-hour drive to a client and was so sorry, I digress. Get off my soapbox now. So the advice that you gave, yeah, change, constant change. That's and it's evolving to at a speed that I don't think you and I, Mike, have ever seen in our careers. So yeah, it's always moving and shaking and I get more marketing emails today than I have ever in my career.
Yeah. And now marketing, their text marketing and just all kinds of different marketing going on right now. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Right. So yeah, I think that's and you said one other thing, constant change and what was the other thing that you said?
Have a passion for what you're doing.
Passion for what you're doing. Yes, you cannot sell something that you do not believe in. And I'm a true believer in that. Yes, you could if you're a telemarketer fine, but you're reading a script. So yeah, I totally agree. Great advice. So we are coming to time. This is the point in which you get your 30-second shameless pitch.
Shameless pitch.
Yep, absolutely. Your 30, if you need to take a moment, please. 30-second shameless pitch.
All right, so LightQuest Outdoor Illumination, we service the Chicagoland market and the Milwaukee market. We are anything that you need in outdoor lighting. I am a certified outdoor lighting designer. I'm a certified low voltage lighting technician. So I spent a lot of time going to school and learning the best ways of designing. I graduated from the International Landscape Lighting Institute. I was actually a mentor at the Landscape Lighting Institute. I actually taught at the COLD program too, the Certified Outdoor Lighting Designer program. So I'm probably one of the most versed outdoor lighting designer in the area. There's a lot of other outdoor lighting designers. Some actually worked for me as well, started their own company, which is fine. I love that. But yeah, so anything you need for outdoor lighting design and installation, LightQuest Outdoor Illumination is the company, and we would be happy to help you with anything you need. There's my
That
shameless
is
plug.
that is awesome. And if somebody needed to reach out to you and wanted to talk with you about that, how would they go about doing that?
So our phone number here at the office is 262-358-9100, or they can email me, mike@calllightquest.com.
Perfect. And those will be in the show notes. So if you are interested in reaching out to Mike or LightQuest, please go ahead and do that, or find the information in the show notes. And Mike, this has been such an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey with us and advice.
Well, thank you for having me on. And I know you're after me for a while, and so I figured this is a perfect time to set this up and do this. So thank you for inviting me on your show.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
This podcast is presented by Accelerate Growth 45, your one-stop shop for business growth. Stop running your business like an operator, delaying wealth creation, and sacrificing your time. Instead, focus on building a valuable business asset, creating lasting wealth, and reclaiming the time you deserve. Accelerate your growth today and visit us at accelerategrowth45.com.
Thanks for joining us for Love Your Sales. For more, connect with Leighann on LinkedIn and be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear what you think. Looking for a way to take your sales process to the next level? Visit us at loveyoursales.com to find out more about how Leighann can take your organization to new revenue heights. And be sure to join us next time for more great ways to love your customers so they love your sales.